Ever since the invention of gunpowder and explosives, military scientists have been in a race to design larger and more powerful weapons that are capable of causing devastating destruction to their target. Other than nuclear devices and bombs dropped from aircraft, artillery is the most destructive and effective device on a battlefield. Some that have been built are truly frightening. Let's take a look at the top 5 largest military artillery vehicles ever made.
Number 5.
The Kalgarat was a devastating weapon that was designed and built by the automotive company Rheinmetall for use by the Nazis during the Second World War. Classified as a self-propelled siege mortar, it weighed 137 tons with a 23-inch or 60cm caliber and a barrel length that measured 13 feet 9 inches or 4.2 meters. It was able to fire shells that varied in weight between 2,700 and 4,700 pounds or 1,250 and 2,100 kilograms and could launch these to a maximum distance of 6.2 miles or about 10 kilometers. The intent was to use these to relentlessly pound the Allied defence lines, and 7 were built, of which 6 saw combat. They were used, for example, to bombard Polish resistance fighters in Warsaw and to destroy vital bridges to slow down Allied troop progressions. But despite their huge power, the Kalgarat did come with some limitations. They were so large and heavy that they needed a huge amount of support. Not only did they require a 21-person crew to operate, but also a crane and a 2-piece set of heavy transport rail cars, and even then, a number of dedicated tanks that could carry the shells. They could only move at a maximum speed of 6.2 miles or about 10 kilometers an hour, which meant their use had to be carefully pre-planned, and they couldn't be quickly deployed if battle conditions changed. During the fall of the Third Reich, all of the Kalgarats were either destroyed or captured, and only one now remains that's on display at a museum in Russia.
Number 4.
The Japanese battleship Yamato was one of 2 in her class, and both hold the record for being the largest and most powerfully armed battleships of all time. Crucial to this was their main weapon, the Type 94 Naval Gun, which is the largest to have ever been mounted to a warship. The gun itself weighed more than 150 tons, had a barrel length of 69 feet 4 inches or 21.1 meters, and a caliber of 18.1 inches or 46 centimeters. Able to fire shells that weighed more than 1.5 tons, it had a rated muzzle velocity of 2,600 feet or 780 meters per second, and a range of up to 26 miles or 42 kilometers. 27 of these guns were built, although only 18 were ever installed, with 9 on the Yamato and 9 on her sister ship. The reason the Japanese decided to build these was their strategists believed the outcome of the war would come down to one decisive naval battle, and that having the most powerful ships would almost guarantee victory. In the end though, the Yamato only fired at enemy surface targets once, and in desperation at the Allied advance in 1945, was ordered to beach herself in Okinawa to try and slow the enemy down, and was easily sunk by American bombers.
Number 3.
Built by the French Army during the First World War, the Model 520 Howitzer was a railway howitzer that they hoped would repel German forces. Ultimately though, of the 2 that were completed, one was destroyed in testing and the other was only used in warfare once. It had been captured by Nazi troops in 1940 and used during the siege of Leningrad. They had a 20-inch or 52 centimeter caliber and a barrel length of 39 feet or about 11.9 meters, weighing 290 tons. They were able to fire shells that weighed up to 3,600 pounds or 1,600 kilograms and could achieve a muzzle velocity of 1,600 feet or 500 meters per second. This meant that the projectiles could travel to targets up to 10.5 miles or 17 kilometers away and would have been able to fire once every 6 minutes. There were serious flaws in the design however, and after the developers realised it would take too long and be too costly to overcome, the plans for further guns like this were cancelled.
Number 2.
The BL 18-inch Mark I naval gun was the second largest naval gun ever developed. It holds the record for firing the heaviest shells from a vessel at sea. It was designed for the British Navy during the First World War, and the 3 that were built were installed on the HMS Furious. The ship never used them in battle though. They were transferred to 2 other ships for coastal bombardment duties. Even then, only 85 rounds were fired before the end of the war, and the guns were scrapped after that. Each one weighed 151 tons at an 18-inch or 45.7cm caliber, and a 60-foot or 18.3 metre long barrel. They could fire shells that weighed 3,300 pounds or about 1,500 kilograms, with a muzzle velocity of 2,400 feet, with a maximum range of 23 miles or 37 kilometres. While they were certainly effective and could fire once a minute, their cost in both monetary terms and the quantity of materials meant that alternative weapons were prioritised instead.
Number 1.
Of all of the heavy artillery developed by the Nazis during the Second World War, the Schwerer Gustav was the most destructive. It was a railway gun that was developed in the late 1930s with the explicit purpose of being used as a siege artillery to break through defensive lines, some of which had the strongest fortifications that had ever been built. Weighing just under 1,500 tons, 2 of these monstrous weapons were constructed, and they hold the record for being the largest caliber rifled weapon ever used in combat, the heaviest mobile artillery piece that's ever been built, and for using the heaviest shells of any artillery piece in history. The barrel of the Schwerer Gustav was 106 feet or 32 metres long, and it had a 31-inch or 80cm caliber. It required a 250-person crew to prepare it for use, which took 3 days, a further 2,500 to lay the track ahead of it, and 2 flak battalions to protect it from being attacked from above. It could fire 14 rounds per day at a distance of up to 30 miles or 47 kilometres, and each one that landed was truly devastating. There was a choice of using either high explosive or armour piercing rounds. Both were just under 12 feet or 3.6 metres long and weighed up to 8 tons each. The high explosive variant was able to produce a crater 30 feet or 9 metres wide and deep, and the armour piercing one could blast through 23 feet or 7 metres of reinforced concrete.
Check out one of our other amazing videos.